you come back to Detroit, and now you're going to a Detroit public school after those years of being raised in a private school, and being in Arizona. How did that shape you before you transitioned to the military? Because I know the military was such a unique transition. What guy were you at 17?
It wasn't that bad of a shock compared to going from Fairlane to, say, presentation 6th to 7th as it was, because remember I had my time in Bodie in 8th and 9th. So then I just went to Arizona for 10th, and then 11th, 12th, I was at Murray. So I was kind of already used to that crowd, except, you know, most of those people went, a few of my classmates actually from 8th grade ended up coming to Murray anyway, but the rest went to Mumford. I found the younger, maybe if I came there as a freshman, it would have been a little different, but kind of by the 11th grade, a lot of them folks had chilled out. It was now the 9th and 10th graders kind of causing more of the issues around there. 11th, 12th grade, a lot of those guys that chilled out, start, you know, thinking like, what am I going to do now? You know, I'm about to graduate. So it wasn't as bad as, I hate to say Detroit public school, but it wasn't a Bobian atmosphere. Again, I started driving at that time. So if I didn't feel like going to school, I didn't, which I was just talking to my son about giving somebody too much time and certain resources at that age. And, but that's another story. We'll say that for another time. But what definitely helped at Murray, right, and the reason I went there anyway, because it was out of our school zone. So I was supposed to go Southwestern or Mumford. Would have been, I went because they had that NJROTC, supposed to be like an academy. And the only real big difference was they had more instructors, and it was ROTC instead of it being some schools like once, it was one class, but it would be, how do I explain it? You only wore it once a week. Normally you had to wear it, no, it wasn't every day. I can't remember. Man, that was a long time ago. But they were one of the few what was called Naval Junior Academies. And they happened to be in Detroit. And all that time was in California. So it helped set me up once because I took it in 9th grade at Bowie, in 10th grade in Arizona, took it for 11th grade at Murray Wright, and I only needed 3 years to go in as an E2, with a little promotion in the military. And they basically, the ROTC instructor signs off on it, formed from a recruiter. So I did, of course, the minimum 3 years, made my instructors mad because I didn't want to do a 4th year, and which I'm still in touch with to this day, believe it or not, from those relationships that were cultivated. My instructor even came to Paris Island while I was down there.
Wow.
Yep, sure did. Colonel Church. He came during second phase. My drill instructors and all were standing at attention talking to him. But so that definitely, you know, was, again, fit just into the plan with later on, shortly thereafter, going into the military.
So we go back to 9th grade, and again, I'm just learning this for the first time. Where did that seed get planted to join the military? Because I mean, we're talking about a time where, you know, not a whole lot of people seem to be going in. We were at a, you know, Cold War time. Well, actually, by the time you went, it was Cold War my time. By the time you went in, you know, you had Desert Storm, but compared to where things are now, it was still a little bit of a different time period. So where did that desire in you come from to go into the military?
Good question. I think some of it, even with Granddaddy, we used to go over on the boulevard to the second story house with the red carpet, shaggy carpet, whatever it was. And I used to look at his tour book from World War II all the time. And interesting, he made that on Okinawa in 1945. Exactly 50 years later, in 95, I was on Okinawa. And so here's my tour book from 1995.
Nice.
Okinawa, Marine Corps. Yeah. So I think that had a lot to do with it, with Granddaddy impacting me. And um, I used to talk to Joe's stepdad a lot, Ray, and I had already had the plan from there. Go in the Marine Corps, go recon. It's like an 18-mile drive. He was a reconnaissance Marine in Vietnam, which I can get into that whole thing. Exactly how he said they were going to do. Come recruit you out of receiving. That's exactly what happened. I went out there. Exactly, and that was the plan. But me and Joe was supposed to do it. Go in ROTC and go on buddy plan, going in the military together. And I think he did like one semester and quit ROTC, and that was the end of him joining the military too.
Mm. Wow. So then you get ready to go in. And so you make this decision to join the Marines. So let's move on to this time period of your life from, if I remember correctly, 18 to 26.
18 to 22. 17 to
22?
22, actually. I signed up at 17, right after my 17.
Okay. And you actually, tell me this story. This is a little bit of an interesting story. You almost, now this is one I'm throwing out there to prompt you. So you almost didn't have a chance to go.
Yes. So, well, I can actually back it up a little bit around the same time period. Just being a kid, I didn't want to go in the Marines. I wanted to go in the Army. And then I didn't even want to talk to my ROTC instructors about it, who are all retirees, now in the school system and everything. And so I'm like trying to keep this thing a secret. And the Army recruiter actually signed me up to do the ASVAB test and stuff. And they never called me back. And Marine Corps recruiter kept blowing me up. And so that's why I went ahead and ended up going and, decided it was going to be the Marines. I knew I was going to do something in the military. Then I ended up going in the Marine Corps, which is, of course, met my wife at the same recruiting station. So, but during that time frame, I was in what's called the delayed entry program. And again, I didn't have any idea the decisions I was making back then, just how much they would impact me later on. So, for example, for my retirement now, it shows my date as 93, right, for pay. I didn't go on active duty till June 20th of 1994.
Your audio sounds like it's going in and out a little bit.
I would say my active duty date is June 20th, 1994. Okay. My pay date is June 23rd, 93. Didn't know it at the time, but just signing up for the delayed entry program and getting picked up and going to little drill things once a month with Sergeant Garcia and all, I get paid, compensated for the rest of my life that extra year. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, during that time frame, so I'm thinking, I think I just we're getting ready to turn 18, and got into a fight in the lunchroom. The guy should have stayed out of it, but I basically picked between two friends. And because this one, we were going to karate together, went to the same karate school. So I jumped on the other dude with him. And I thought I was just going to get suspended. I'm going to graduate next month anyway. Big deal. And man, I went in there to go turn myself in. The cops was in there. I'm like, whoa. And she's like, have a seat. So, man, you could trace back problems in Detroit, probably from incidents like this. You remember that whole case got thrown out. She told my recruiter, because he went to talk to her. She's like, oh, if he's going to Marines, I'll just tell him that. I'll tell the judge when I got there, everything was fine. And, drop the charges. They'll drop the charges. Because you can't arrest somebody for disorderly conduct if you didn't witness it. And you show up an hour later and everything's fine. So why didn't the judge ream them and say, hey, why are you arresting people and wasting my time when you just want to come in court and tell me that, you didn't see anything? But you went to that court hearing. Now, what you probably missed, though, is when I went outside to talk to the lawyer, right, they give you, he was telling me to plead guilty. right? And
Mm.
Sergeant Garcia was like, "Oh, you know what? If you plead guilty, you better say not guilty." I was like, "But I am guilty." He's like, "You better say not guilty." I was like, "Okay." I went there, not guilty. And then, so finally, when I went before that judge, and they would do 36 district court at Quest, and I went up there. Cop took the stand. She was like the SRO for the school, and I didn't hardly say nothing. And she was like, "Yes, when we arrived, everything was broke up fine, and that was it." Judge refunded a little $50 bail. But here's the kicker, man. I don't know if you remember this. He goes, and he only said it to me. Three of us. And he said, "Hey, turn around to the kids and give them some advice." So I turned around right after I just got found not guilty for fighting and all that stuff and disorderly conduct. I turned right around, told all them kids, I said, "Hey, don't do what I just did. I was fighting in school, almost blew my chances of joining the Marine Corps, blah, blah, blah." And then remember, everybody gave me a standing ovation, the kids, and the judge was back there clapping. And I remember walking off thinking, like, I just admitted to doing this crime, and the judge is back here clapping. And I was like, man, it's just a big waste of time. And I was only 17.
I vaguely remember that, but I never pieced it together that way. But I have told that story to other people. That was the first indication that I ever received of the school to prison pipeline that exists in the Black community. Because it's like, here it was, early 90s, and I remember being in high school at a white high school, and they had a huge melee with the teens, and none of those kids went to jail. And so you get into a food fight, and here it is, you getting arrested,
17.
going to a court case.
I was charged as an adult. Fight.
Yes,
as an adult,
and that could have changed everything in your future.
And the public defender told us to plead guilty. You never been in trouble. You just get some probation. I said, I'll get ready to do it. Nobody told me nothing different except for recruitment. And that thing popped up even 4 years later. Really? I came back to Detroit, and I broke the brakes for a minute, waiting to do this fucking thing, waiting on that. When I was trying to get my carry permit. And for some reason in their system, they needed the disposition of it. So I had to go back and get the paper for that thing 4 years later, and everything it popped up. So even when I would do my security clearance, right, for the military for the years, I have to put that down. That is still. Wow. Because they want to know if you've ever been arrested. So I still have to put that thing down. That just goes to show, it worked out for me, but it was still there where people could see it. Even though I found not guilty, I still had to put it down again for, because there was an arrest that really shouldn't have happened. But how many people didn't have somebody give them advice that was, that contradicted the public defender, and they just took that charge.
Yes, because I mean, I know I've been with a lot of white parents that the first thing they did, their kid was dead wrong. Drinking underage, et cetera, and the first thing they did is go make sure they got a lawyer to make sure that not only are they found not guilty, but they also gets expunged from their record. Right. That's the main thing they worried about. It's almost like I paid a ticket, but don't put it on my insurance, because I know that's going to be the thing that's going to hit me the most going in the future.